We would like to say thank you for coming. Welcome to Albion area lifelong learners. And we appreciate it's supposed to be a beautiful day, so we're going to ask everyone to come in so we can get you out in a timely manner. I am Vivian Davis. I'm president of Albion area lifelong learners, and this is my last meeting. So I'm going to walk away with my head drooped and, oh no, what am I going to do with my time now? Yes, so, but we will honor others who are going off the board as well before we leave. We're going to have a short meeting to kind of catch you up on what is happening with AALL, including the financials, as well as minutes from the last meeting, so you will know what, and the appeal for membership, because we want to increase our membership and our involvement, and we want to hear from you as well. We have brand new membership applications for those of you who are not members, and for those of you who are members, we have registration forms. You probably have seen them on the registration table. So we would like to ask Jim Seidel to come up to give us information regarding the financials for AALL.
Thank you, Vivian. The balance sheet says, and everything I can see, is that we have $4,220.45 at Homestead. And Edward Jones, we have 3 CDs for $2,917.01, for a total of $7,137.46. We have a strange situation in that we are on a year, but our programming is like the schools. We do it from September through the end of May. So we take most of our money in September. So right now, when I give you the actual financials, the amount of money that we spent for January until now, we have about $100 in the hole, but in September, we will get out of the hole and be good. Most of our money comes from class revenue. So that is the money that we take in that you pay for your membership and you pay for the classes. And that was $1,190 so far this year. Now, on the expense side, we had $700 in honorariums. We had $200 on assembly speakers. Room rental, that is for the boom. When we do our movies, it costs us $10 per person, which is the best deal that we ever had because we have 4 classes and we're paying $10. We spent $1,304.65 so far this year with a negative $114.65. But we will be whole again as soon as everybody pays their dues in September. So please pay your dues. Thank you.
You took the wrong one, Jim. This is yours. No. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. We're going to have the reading of our minutes by Dale Kennedy, and after a couple of the presenters, I want to introduce you to a special person that has returned to Albion. We'll talk about that later. But Dale, will you please come and share the minutes from, I guess, March 12th?
Hi, I'm the secretary of AALL, so I have the minutes from last year's annual meeting, which was held April 10th, 2025. So the meeting was called to order at 10. We were in the Bohm Theater because it was the Elkin Isaac Student Research Symposium. We couldn't get any space on campus that day. And Jim gave the treasurer's report, Doug gave a report from the curriculum committee, and you'll hear from him again. And then President Davis made several announcements, and I just want to mention one or two of those that she made last year that are pertinent again. There are still a vacancy on the board, so if anybody would like to come on board, let us know. There is a neighborhood cleanup again this year. You're probably going to announce that. All right. And if you're not getting info about AALL, please see B. Robinson out at the desk there. She's the registrar, and she can get that on you. So anyway, we had a speaker, Brian Lewin, who gave the assembly presentation, which was nuclear power technology. And so that was sort of the highlights of our annual meeting last year. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Dell. And I think the protocol is, can I have someone to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Okay, it has been moved by Jim Whitehouse and seconded by, okay, I saw Rick's hand. It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Are there questions or discussion? All in favor? Oppose? Thank you, Dell. Okay, now we're going to talk about the future. And Doug White is going to tell you what classes are going to be available, offered this spring.
Well, we have a great lineup again, I think. Let me just say something about the classes. Dave Ryman, based on sabbatical work he did in New York City and a long interest in combining math and art, is offering a course on the mathematics and art of M.C. Escher. And he has if you're thinking of taking that course, I'm taking it, he has a book recommendation, and I just sent away for a book, and it's highly reviewed, so if you're doing that, you might consider ordering the book too. Connie O'Brien from the Albion Accounting Department is offering a course, Fraud Fighting, Protecting Your Finances and Yourself from Scams. This seems appropriate, and it's geared towards seniors. And there's a little quirk in that schedule. The last week of the class, it meets twice. This accommodates some travel plans she had later in May. So just study that schedule carefully if you're taking that course. We have a single session course on invasive species and SISMA, and the two presenters are deeply involved with the practical aspects of this, and it's another chance to learn about mile-a-minute weed, which I was the person that discovered it, so I'm always a little mile-a-minute weed? Oh, SISMA. What is mile-a-minute weed? It's the name of an invasive species that was discovered in the Nature Center. That's a thing. So it's very interesting. I learned about this after I discovered it there, its first appearance in Michigan. There's a highly developed and organized response system for invasive species. And it went into full gear with the mile-a-minute weed discovery at the Nature Center and in the county, and it's an ongoing project. And so it's, and if you have property in the area, you might have some of the, you almost certainly have some of these species in your yard. And so this is very interesting. If you, and two things I want to say about this course. So it's a single session, it's free, and it doesn't count against your one free class. So please sign up for that. And if you're interested, the following week from that course, they have a public hands-on event at the White House Nature Center, a mile-a-minute we learn and pull in the evening, and there's a link in the newsletter where you can register for that event. And I encourage you to do that. Finally, we have another film class, and these are films that are adaptations of the work of Agatha Christie. And Dale Kennedy's coordinating this class, and I've been inundated with all sorts of esoteric facts about Agatha Christie, and I'm even more impressed with her status in the world of mysteries, which Dale is deeply involved with. So several mysteries come into my house every week, and new ones. So that'll be terrific. So that's the lineup for this coming May. Are there any questions? Terrific, thank you. Yep.
If people have ideas for courses, who do they talk to?
Talk to me. And we love it if it's 90 about it.
Thank you, Doug. And we bounce ideas around because we've heard the concern, maybe we should have online classes, so we tried that, but there's still more to come. Collaboration with Forks Senior Center. We're trying that. As a matter of fact, there is a gentleman who teaches at the Forks Senior Center for free, volunteers to teach a Spanish class. So we may be able to collaborate with other programs and things like that. I did talk with YMCA, and there is money available. So if you have classes, ideas, and things like that, let us know, and we will find a way to offer it. The committee will find a way. I forgot I'm not in. The committee will find a way to offer it. But your ideas, your participation, collaboration, we welcome it at any time. Okay, Jenny. Jenny is going to talk about entertainment to refresh your spirits. No, she didn't know that.
I guess refreshing your spirits can mean more than one thing. Dale Kennedy is also going to speak after me about entertainment too. Okay? All right. So two things. I thought getting here at 20 minutes to 10 with my little handouts would be in time, but I see most of you are already here. There are two of them out there to talk to you about today. One of them is a program through the Marshall Recreation Department, and I did put 5 flyers out there and I can get more if that's not enough. It is their annual Grand Experience, which is their trip to Mackinac Island. It's 3 nights, transportation, food up, food on the way back. Includes the shuttle over the water, includes a carriage ride around the island. It's a little pricey, probably because you are staying and eating at the Grand. But if it's something you have always wanted to do, I would encourage you to think about it and sign up pretty quickly because it's very popular. If you wait till June or July, there might not be a seat. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the very last production of the Albion College Theater. It is The Tempest by William Shakespeare. I'm sure almost all of you are familiar with it, but it's a tale about magic, shipwreck, mischievous, I'm not sure, spirits, lovers, and drunken fools. There you go. Any weekend at Albion College, I guess. Shh, I didn't say that. Okay. It is at the Herrick Theater at the Dow Center. It is free. Opening night is tonight. We're not going as a group, so this is going to, if you decide you want to go. So it's this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30 p.m., and then Saturday there's also a matinee, and then they skip to next week and do Thursday and Saturday, also 7:30, and also a 2 o'clock Saturday matinee. So this is a production that obviously takes a lot of effort for the students to put on, and I think it would be a really good one to go to. And then Dale wanted to speak about something.
I'm going to try from here because I'm pretty sure. Out in the lobby, if you didn't see. Use the microphone. Okay.
I was instructed to use because of recording. Yes.
Okay. Out in the lobby, if you saw this but didn't pick it up, White House Nature Center has a grant through Senior Services, and so they are putting on 6 events starting this week, or next week rather, and each of them is free and involves a free meal as well. So the first one, next Wednesday, is Francie, who's coming up from Avian Experience with her rehabbed raptors. And it's always a treat to see whether she brings her 20-year-old bald eagle or 18-year-old, red-tailed hawk or whatever. And so that one is April 15th, 4 to 6, followed by a free dinner. So if you didn't get one of these, I'd encourage you to pick one up on the way out. You do need to register for each of these because of the free meal. They have to know how many people will be coming. And basically the number here is the Forks Senior Center. So to register, you call the Forks and they can put you on that. I'll just mention a couple other dates. May 9th is World Migratory Bird Day. So everybody should be excited. Doug and I are actually doing a morning walk at White House Nature Center at 9, and then we are doing a presentation over at Brooks Nature Center in Marshall. If you haven't been there, it's great, at 2. So we would strongly encourage anybody who wants to celebrate Migratory Bird Day. It's a world event. That's it. What are you laughing at?
Thank you. And we have one other thank you, Dell. We have one other person. We have Katie Price, who is on sabbatical, but is still working from Albion College in communications. She's going to talk to you about an upcoming event, and then this is our last one.
Thank you, Vivian. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Price. I'm an associate professor at Albion College. I am also a board member for the Michigan chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and I'm on the Calhoun County Walk to End Alzheimer's Committee as well. So many years of trying, we're finally bringing stuff over to Albion, which I'm very excited about. I've been advocating for Albion for years now, so it's exciting that somebody's finally paying attention, and hopefully this means more involvement from the association here in Albion. So please mark your calendars for Thursday, April 30th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Marshall Opportunity High School. There are flyers out in on the registration table. We are finally going to have some education from the association here in Albion, but it's also going to be a community forum as well. So it's called Mindful Neighbors. It's going to be a little bit of education, some discussion from people, from some community leaders here in Albion, and then time for Q&A at the end. 5 to 7 is dinner time, roughly, so there's going to be heavy hors d'oeuvres to make sure that your tummies stay full and satiated while we're chatting. But I'm just really excited. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. It's what I do my research on, dementia and Alzheimer's and aging generally. And, you know, Albion's going to finally have some support in that area. So I'm excited. I hope you'll join us. I'm going to be one of the speakers, so you might want to come. But happy to have you. Hope to see you there. If you can't make it, but you know somebody else that might be helped by this or might be helpful for them, please do let them know this is happening. We are trying to push in a lot of different places throughout the city, but yeah, please share the event. Thank you all. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. Now I would like to take just one moment of personal privilege, just in case she has to leave a little early. I would like to welcome again our renewed city manager, Cheryl Mitchell-Terrio. Dr. Cheryl Mitchell-Terrio. We would like to say welcome back to Albion, and she hit the ground running because there are a lot of issues and a lot of concerns that are going on in the city, and she knows what to do and can reach out to many people throughout the state. So we welcome you, and we look forward to good things happening. Okay. Now we have Mark Lilly, who is going to, he has sat there so patiently, our speaker. So we're going to introduce our speaker so he can get started to share interesting facts.
Thank you, Vivian. People, if you want to move forward, feel free. Feels like one of my wife's lectures at Albion College. I'm very happy to be able to introduce Larry Bell as the speaker for your spring General Assembly. Back in the 1990s, Sean Colvin, the singer, sang in Goodrich Chapel and commented how bizarre it was to be singing some of her songs in a church, and Larry may have the same experience here today. Larry was raised in Park Forest, Illinois, and came to Kalamazoo in 1976 to attend Kalamazoo College. And I hope at some point Larry just talks a little bit about how that all transpired because of a bike ride. Larry incorporated what would become Bell's Brewery in 1983. It was originally a home brewing store, and he began producing beer in 1985. It's the oldest craft brewery in Michigan, and in 2021, Larry sold it to Kirin Holdings of Tokyo. Larry's talk is going to touch on a variety of subjects. Many of them are related to trails, and outdoor recreation. He is currently the chairman of the Larry J. Bell Library Foundation, which he will describe. So, Larry, welcome.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, all. I'm just going to update the events calendar for you a little bit as well, as long as I'm over here. So April 18th, if you want to venture over to Kalamazoo, there's going to be a wonderful production of West Side Story, and yes, I am in it. So now there are only 4 adult parts in West Side Story. Certainly I'm not a jet or a shark, but I have the least part in there. I get to play Officer Krupke. So they sing about me, but I don't have to sing, thankfully. So anyways, yeah, I thank you for having me over here today, and I did just want to talk about a couple of topics this morning, and probably start talking about the trail. And seeing as how we're in the chapel, I thought I'd start today's sermon with a reading from a good book. This is The first stanza is from Walt Whitman's Song of the Open Road. Afoot and lighthearted, I take to the open road. Healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me leading wherever I choose. Henceforth, I ask not good fortune. I myself am good fortune. Henceforth, I whimper no more, postpone no more, need nothing. Done with indoor complaints, libraries, querulous criticisms, strong and content, I travel the open road. I've been reading that. They made us read that back in my college days, and that's one that's stuck with me for a long time. So, probably you know that the North Country Trail comes through Albion here. Albion is a trail town. The trail was, I think, came into its formal existence in 1980, I believe, an act of Congress. Certainly there were parts of the trail that were out there, and shortly after Congress enacted the trail, the North Country Trail Association was formed, a nonprofit organization that's a group of volunteers and some paid staff that pretty much maintain the trail. So the trail is part of the National Scenic Trails. The National Park Service has the National Trails System, and within that there are 11 National Scenic Trails. Probably the best known is the Appalachian Trail. There's the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide, the Ice Age Trail in Wisconsin, the Florida Trail, obviously in Florida. Of all those, the North Country Trail is the longest, going from Vermont to North Dakota. And depending upon what data you read, it's somewhere between 4,600 and 4,800 miles long. I won't tell you exactly. The trail is headquartered here in the state of Michigan, up in Lowell, Michigan, which is about halfway on the trail. And across the state of Michigan, it's about 1,180 miles to get across Michigan. It's not a straight shot by any means. So the trail in Michigan starts, it crosses the border from Ohio in Hillsdale County, out in the middle of nowhere. I was there on Monday in Ohio. But it crosses up through Hillsdale and winds its way up to Albion, where it turns west over to Battle Creek and starts heading north past through Lowell on the east side of Grand Rapids, up through the Manistee Forest, Kalkaska, Petoskey, across the bridge up to Lake Superior, and across the UP to where it hits Wisconsin. The trail in Michigan is maintained by 12 chapters, 7 in the Lower Peninsula and 5 in the Upper Peninsula. So the local chapter here is the Chief Noonday chapter, and there's about 400 members of Chief Noonday. It is certainly one of the most active chapters, I would say second to the West Michigan chapter, which has about 700 members. But Chief Noonday is certainly a very active chapter within the trails system. And there's a lot of people who volunteer within that organization to keep the trail maintained by keeping the trails open, blazing the trail, building new trail. The trail system itself is really a mixture of trail, bona fide trail, and what we call road walks. So since its inception, in order to string along different parts of trail, you know, there's trails that go through state parks, that go through national forest, local parks, what have you. But sometimes there's a road walk in there. And yeah, I do road walks. If you want to do the whole trail or through, that's one of the things you do. One of the people have opinions about road walks, and probably the one that is least liked is the Albion to Marshall trip, which I've done a couple of times in life. It's a long walk on the road, wear your hokas. Wear your hokas, treat your feet nicely on that walk. The trail is blazed, so how do you know that you're on the trail? So along the trail, there are 2-inch by 6-inch blue blazes. It's a distinctive blue-colored paint that is controlled by the National Park Service. You cannot get that paint from anybody but the National Park Service. So within each chapter, there's somebody who's in charge of the paint, and you gotta talk to that individual. You gotta be signed up as a volunteer to get it. So even out on the roads, you'll see, and you've probably seen, if you don't know, maybe now you'll know, you might see a telephone pole with that blue blaze on it. That's part of the trail, that's part of the road walk. And sometimes I've been out on the trail and I say, yeah, where in the blue blazes am I? But anyways, so how do I come to the trail and talk about it? So in July of 2020, I got diagnosed with cancer for the second time in my life, and I'm sure most of you in the room have either been touched by it or know somebody that's been touched by it. It's a lousy thing. I've had cancer twice in my life. Both times I call them cancer light, in that the infected part of my body, the organ, was able to be removed, thrown away, and I didn't have to go through any chemo or radiation. Both times was caught early. But in July of 2020, I had kidney cancer, and I lost at the height of COVID, I had to check into the hospital for 4 nights, and they removed my left kidney. And, my doctor said I was very fortunate. A lot of people don't live through that, to be honest. And when you're there in the hospital, you kind of say, oh boy, okay, what, things are proceeding along in life. What do you want to do? And I'd always known about the trail, and I'd contributed to the trail. I'd been on little snippets of the trail. When I've got a place in the UP, when the dog and I head north on 131, there's a road stop on the Manistee River, and I get the dog out for a little bit of a walk, and I always look, it's like, oh my gosh, the trail comes right through this little road stop. And I've seen backpackers there, like, okay, where are they going? And anyways, laying there in the hospital, I said, all right, when I recover, my goal is gonna be to hike the trail across the state of Michigan. And I was able to start then in, I think it was early October of 2020. I went down and did the first 11 miles of the trail from the border up by Lost Nations State Game Area. And my wife was coming over from Chicago. My wife is really smart. She's a little geographically challenged. And I shared a location. She's like, where am I picking you up? I'm like, out in the middle of nowhere, honey. I beat her there by 10 minutes. And I posted a video at that time. I was very public about it. My doctors, both times I've had cancer, have said to me, you're a fairly public guy, and you have choices. You can be very quiet about this, or you can be out there and advocate. So I had prostate cancer when I was 49 years old. And so I've advocated for men's health. When I was in the beer industry, we had a program called Pints for Prostates. You know your IPA, do you know your PSA? So, prostate humor, you didn't know you were getting that this morning, did you? But it's important to get that checked. So, I posted a video on social media that I was going to take this on, and being so happy to be on the right side of the earth, I announced some contributions to the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan, to the Cancer Center at Bronson Hospital in Kalamazoo, and to the North Country Trail. And the trail, it was still COVID, and the trail kind of became my place for recovery. You know, a lot of people, I think, got out on the trails in this country during COVID a lot. There was a lot of trail use and discovery, something you can do outdoors, and you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot to get out there. So I took on that. I had no clue, really, how I was going to do it, how I was going to get across Michigan, and just looking at, like, how am I going to get across the eastern UP, let alone the western UP? Well, you learn. And having been in business in this state for many years, I had employees across the state, salespeople, distributors who helped out. I remember my distributor in St. Ignace was spotting me one day. So, you know, we dropped my car and he's driving me into the woods. And I'm like, no, back up. We're going down that. He's like, you want to go down there? I'm like, yeah. And I said, about a mile down on some two-track in the woods, there's a little sign that says North Country Trail. He's like, I've lived here all my life. I had no idea. You know, the Lower Peninsula is fairly easy. There's some road walk. When you get to the UP, things get a little different. When you get past Marquette, things get hard and difficult. And that's where, you know, we do all this, we spend all this money for what? I get a little patch. Right? We joke about it, yeah. All we do for a little patch. The Western UP was hard, going through the Huron Mountains. The trap hills are really hard, up and down, up across a ridge and 400 foot down through a swamp and up another 400 foot and down. It's beautiful when you're up there. Porcupine Mountains, also difficult to get through. But, you know, I started at 62, and it took me 5 years and 2 days, and I was able to complete it. Now, when I was thinking about that, I looked on Google Earth. Okay, you would think you would finish at the Wisconsin line, the Michigan-Wisconsin line. There is nothing out there. Like, that doesn't look like very much fun. So I decided I would finish at Mackinac City. The wife met me there, and we went to the island, and we went out to the Grand Hotel, and I said, why don't you get a big glass of Chardonnay? And after she had a little bit, I said, let me tell you the things about the trail that I haven't told you before. Like the time the bear stole my food. Bears aren't supposed to be able to break into those bear vaults. Things happen out there, but you get by. The Trail Association, so if you're thinking about it, like, it's easy to start hiking on the trail. You don't need much just if you want to hike locally. There is a program that you can sign up for called Hike 100. It's one of the big programs of the North Country Trail Association to sign up to hike 100 miles on the trail in the calendar year. And it could be, you could hike the same 2 miles 50 times. They don't care. It's just about getting out and being active on the trail. The local chapter here, the Chief Noonday chapter, again this year has the 3-county challenge. So the chapter manages 3 counties, Berry, Kalamazoo, and Calhoun. So if you can hike the 120 miles there, you get a patch. It's a pretty patch. I've done it. I did it last year, so I've done it twice. So I achieved my goal, and I've now, you know, when you finish, it's like, what do you do next? So you set a new goal. So my new goal is 2,000 unique miles on the trail at least, and I've started on Ohio. So I'm 100 miles into Ohio, and you know, I don't have the same friend based in Ohio, but there's a thing called Trail Angels. And so each chapter you can get set up, and there are people out there willing to shuttle you. And Usually they don't want any money, they're just doing it to help out. I usually bring like jelly or chocolates. My current shuttle service down in Ohio, she likes dark chocolate and beer. Okay, that works. So anyways, as Mark noted, I was, I had Bell's Brewery over in Kalamazoo was my career company that I founded, which I thought I was going to work at till I died. But, families and politics and families, things change. And anyways, the brewery got sold the last day of 2021. So again, the trail, this was a major life change for me. The trail was not only a place for recovery from cancer, but also a place just to de-stress from having to sell the company that I started. Even if my phone rang out on the trail, and it does ring sometimes in places you can't believe it does. But I had the opportunity to sell the company, and I wound up with, what do they call it, a liquidity event. I had a windfall, and the wealth management people said, you have one chance, you're going to have a chance in life to make some contributions because of taxes. You should think about this, and let's talk about this and come up with a number and see if we all agree, and then you can decide what you want to do with the money. And I was able to make a gift as part of that to the North Country Trail Association for $500,000, which was the biggest gift that they had ever received. And they've done a great job with the money. They were able to hire somebody to look at the preservation of the trail. And this has become part of the new strategic plan for the trail. So there's a lot of places where the trail may go across a private land or state land that's a handshake deal. It's not formalized. And so the trail has been working on formalizing that by getting it into easements, agreements with the property owners, and also because of this, the trail was able to get Congress to vote to raise the status of the trail within the national trail system. So that's been really great. I do have some worries right now. It's part of the National Park Service. There's a lot of trail, in Michigan that goes through national forests. And you've probably seen that our 4 national forest offices in Michigan are being closed, and Michigan is now going to be managed by somebody in Wisconsin. But, when you're out there on the trail, say in the UP, I've seen loggers, and there's some logging companies that will treat the trail well and some that just don't care. But it's, certainly the Trail Association works with people within the National Forest System. So I know there's concern within the organization and within groups that manage public lands, just how that's going to be. Outdoor recreation in Michigan amounts to, $15.1 billion a year, 2.1% of our GDP. So it's an important thing, I think, for the state, for the economy, and hopefully that'll all get worked out. I've got some information up here. I didn't know that information went out there, but I've got some information about the trail and the local chapter as well up here. Now, the other thing that I did want to talk to you about is, so coming out of that liquidity event, I was able to do a couple of other things, and I wasn't ready to just sit around and play golf all day. That's not the kind of person I am. So one of the things, I've always been a collector, I guess, and thinking about that, the Bell family collected coins, We didn't know that Dad had some old stamp stuff until he died. But I started collecting maps when I was in the 6th grade. I started collecting beer cans when I was 17. And I had, even before the brewery was sold, I mean, I collected some things, but I kind of gone in whole hog on that. And I formed what's called the Larry J. Bell Library Foundation. Again, there's some flyers up here. And so what I'm up to now is we are building a new facility in Kalamazoo for the purpose of a research library and gallery space. We can't call it a museum because of trademark law. There is a couple Bell facilities already in the country. So what all does that entail? So the library side of things, there's a gentleman by the name of Larry Massey, pretty well-known historian and author in this state. And long story short, Mr. Massey and I started a relationship, and I bought out his bookstore. Larry had this bookstore out in the middle of, he called it the Allegan Forest, I called it the Allegan Swamp. Larry's a Vietnam vet and kind of likes to just be out there a little bit and have his space, which is cool. But nobody wanted to come out there to the bookstore. So I bought the 4,000 books out of the bookstore, and then he showed me his personal collection. And we got talking, what are you going to do with this? And over a period of time, we came to an agreement. And so I acquired his 40,000 volume personal library centered on Michigan history. I am told that it is the 3rd best collection on Michigan history behind the U of M and Central. People certainly wanted to know. And of course, there's 40,000 books. There is all kinds of other stuff. We are currently cataloging and sanctioning the 5,000 item postcard collection. That takes a special person to catalog those. Thank you, Kalamazoo College. Yeah, here's your student project. So there was a musical instrument collection, all kinds of ephemera. So we have that, and then there's my books. We have a really large exploration collection, especially on polar exploration. A lot of cool things there. We have books, of course, on beer and brewing. We have books on baseball. I'm trying to put together a small collection on, well, we've got some counterculture and the history of the environmental movement in the United States. We also have fine literature. So I'm a big Twain fan. We have a great Mark Twain collection. We've got 2 first edition Huck Finns. We have a great Sherlockiania collection. Yes, that is a word, Sherlockiania, those of us that are into Sherlock Holmes. We have a lot of fine literature. We collect records. We currently have about 45,000 records, mostly classical. So we hope to set up a small listening room. So say if Maestro Querti from the Kalamazoo Symphony says he's going to program the Brahms Violin Concerto, guess what? We've got 11 different conductors. If you want to come to the listening room and see what you like, it'll be there for students. The library part of this is going to be private. This is not a lending library. This is a research library. Who are you? Who's your daddy? Why do you think you want to look at our books? We're going to have some control. We have some very, we've got an original Lewis and Clark, right? We've got a book of poetry that Ernest Shackleton took on his trip to Antarctica. We've got some fairly rare books. We collect maps. So you can see a map up here. Our oldest map is from 1463, from the Renaissance. It was drawn in AD 150 by Ptolemy. Ptolemy knew the world was round. He was just off by 30%. But He drew the world round, and in the Renaissance and printing came, he printed it. A guy named Columbus knew this map and knew of it for helping him think about it. We especially collect maps centered on the Great Lakes. We probably have most of the important maps on the Great Lakes, Champlain. We just acquired, there are 3 original maps known of Lake Superior from the late 1600s. U of M owns one, we own one, and one was stolen, and we don't know where it is right now. But we have an extensive map collection. We collect ceramics. When I was a home brewer, I lived with a potter who was a mentor of mine. He was a home brewer, very critical. He was a good mentor. And you start combining these things, so you see this giant mug here. So I commissioned potters around, well, in the States and in Europe to make, if they're willing, to make me oversized mugs, just for fun. So this is done by Peter Carner out in Colorado. It's heavy enough to pick up empty, let alone full of beer. There's a German tradition, 5-liter mugs in German, or you'll see Steins. We have a Stein collection, like classical European Steins, but then that moves into old brewery Steins. So having been in the beer industry, we have an extensive what we call Breweriana collection. So brewery collectibles. You can come up and see, I still collect beer cans. We probably have 15,000 beer cans. You may be surprised that the beer can just turned 90 years old. So you may be surprised. I would say in the last 12 months, there has probably been 10 beer cans that have sold at auction for over $20,000 a piece. Last year set the record, a beer can sold for $111,000. It's like Antiques Roadshow. What? Yeah. There are some of these cans where there's maybe there's one known, maybe there's just a couple good indoor examples known, and they tell a story about the cities, about the culture, about the industry itself. So in Breweriana, I mean, we have everything that you can imagine in Breweriana: cans, trays, bottles, openers, old lithographs, just about shoe brushes that were logoed, about anything that you can imagine. We collect posters and prints. So in the poster world, talking about art posters, Alphonse Mucha say, last I checked, we have about 440 pieces of Mr. Mucha's art. We have a big Toulouse-Lautrec collection, Steinlen. The most famous, in the poster world, the most famous poster is what we call a 3-panel Moulin Rouge by Lautrec. There are a dozen known in the world. We own one. We probably have over 20,000 prints. So when I say prints, think about botanicals, flora and fauna. We have a great collection. David Roberts was a guy who went to the Levant and Egypt in 1840 to 42 and did some amazing prints of the pyramids and the Sphinx and whatnot. We've got that. Audubon's, birds. We collect Japanese woodblock prints. The most famous in that genre, of course, is the iconic Great Wave that you probably know. We own a copy of the Great Wave. It's been reprinted a lot, but I'm talking about a real Great Wave. If you've got a collecting bug, you have a lot of things. I had a little brew pub out in Lawton, Michigan for a while, when I bought it from this guy, it had a crop dusting theme, which wasn't, yeah, I'll have the DDT Dark, please. But I changed the name to the Old Hat, and I bought hats, and then I bought hat boxes. So lo and behold, I now have a hat box collection. You know, there are some weird things that we have, but again, some of them tell history of towns and shops there. I have an old hat from a women's store in Kalamazoo, and there's a couple of the older gals that are like, I remember my mother taking me there, and this and that. So, you know, these are fun stories. We have a lot of prints from Polynesia and and books on exploration in Polynesia. And so sometimes when I travel myself, I pick up different artifacts. This is a piece that I got in Easter Island last year. And when they got to Easter Island, they found this language that nobody has been able to do, but one of the local Rapa Nui ladies out of this local wood inscribed this with the local language as best she could. Doesn't mean anything, but it's a cool artifact just to put in there. You know, we have a lot of, yes? What's the name of the language? Pardon? What's the name of the language? I don't know that if there's a name to that language. I'm not sure. So, yeah, we have some cars. Anyways, we're building this new facility. If you've ever been to Kalamazoo, there's a building downtown that used to have the food dance restaurant in it, and it's where Homer Stryker started the Stryker Corporation. It's about 34,000 square feet. That's going to be our gallery and event space in there. And then we're building a new building that'll be our library, archives, a 200-seat auditorium, and we are building a Carillon Tower, a 56-bell Carillon Tower that we're working with. There are a company, the Verdon Company down in Cincinnati, 6th-generation bell makers, and so we'll be putting that together. One of my other gifts that I made was to the Gilmore in Kalamazoo, which is a piano organization I'm past president of, so I was able to make a gift to them. The Gilmore currently gives out the largest stipend in the classical music world with a secret competition where the winner, so they don't know that they're in the competition, the winner gets $300,000. And I've endowed for the organization to do the same thing for jazz. And we have our inaugural winner for that award. Our festival starts April 30th over in Kalamazoo, runs for 10 days, and Sullivan Fortner, who just won the Grammy Award for Best Jazz Album, is the inaugural Bell Jazz Award winner, so he'll be coming over. So come over to Kalamazoo. The best piano players in the world come to Kalamazoo. But a carillon is played by a keyboard, and there is a repertoire for the carillon. University of Michigan actually confers a degree in carillonneuring. Maybe we could get some of those spirits. I could say that better. Refresh my spirits. Never mind. So, you know, hopefully in a couple of years when this is all built, it's a $35 million project that I'm putting together here. In a couple of years, there can be a field trip, and you all could come over and see some of the stuff that we have. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have today. No? Well,
If I missed it, I apologize, but when do you expect the research center to open?
I am hoping for the fourth quarter of 28. I know how long construction takes. The question is, like, getting display cabinets in and all. We've got one room, like, we have a collection of African art of over 600 pieces, so we'll have one room dedicated to that, but that needs a lot of display cabinetry built. So fourth quarter 28, first quarter 29, something like that. So hard to say. Yes, sir.
Will any of your collections be available on the web so that people can see what types of material you have there?
Yeah, eventually we'll build it out. We currently use a program called Catalog It that was actually developed by a Kalamazoo College alum, and it does have the ability to be forward-facing to the public. We haven't put that there yet, but we will have that ability. They're going to be working on that long past the time I've left the world, as far, and for putting books into the OLCL, I think it is. Yeah, eventually, but that's going to take some time because I just collect too much stuff too quickly. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you. Anything else? Yes, sir. Yeah, so that was done. At the time, Mr. Franklin sat for that, and you can see in that print, he's got spectacles, which he developed, and then he's looking at a copy of a map of Philadelphia and how it's going to be built out. So I'm hoping, I don't have this set up, I'm hoping that perhaps we might be able to mount our first show. I'm talking to a guy who's got an empty storefront, but City of Kalamazoo isn't, or the Museum of Kalamazoo isn't necessarily doing anything for America 250, and we have a lot of great Revolutionary War era stuff, but also things on the history of the U.S. and Michigan in it. We have a copy of, well, we've got the Popple map that was, Popple map was used by the Parliament to manage the colonies. We've got a copy of the Mitchell map and also the top 4 panels of the French edition of that was used for the Treaty of Paris to decide the boundaries of this new country. I just picked up a painting from 1880 of General George Custer leading the Wolverines in battle at Gettysburg. So we're hoping that maybe that'll happen. Yes.
We have one member who has the largest napkin collection in the United States. That is still here? She just left. I wanted to mention that because that's rather special. I didn't know if we could find a home there eventually or not.
You never know, the things that people collect, one of my guys was dropping off some Brianna to me up in the UP at my house. We were having a couple pops and talking about things, and I found out that he collected Band-Aid boxes. And at the time, he had 500. He said, Larry, I'm on eBay trying to find the proper Band-Aid that goes in the box. But wait, it gets better. I saw him recently, and some fella he knew passed away and willed him his 4,000-piece Band-Aid box collection. So you never know. But I also acquired from this guy a collection of fishing equipment. Southwest Michigan was the center of fishing equipment back in the day. So we've got all these in Kalamazoo, Dowagiac, and Paw Paw were 3 of the 6 largest fishing equipment companies, and the Shakespeare Company in Kalamazoo. And so we've got that too. And somebody else had a question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Larry, I'm wondering what led you to Kalamazoo State College and what led you to continue to homebrew in Kalamazoo.
So Mark wanted me to tell the story. So just about how I got to Kalamazoo and home brewing, I guess. So when I was 15, I was coming home with my folks from the UP. It's October, and I saw in Wisconsin, I saw a guy on a bicycle with panniers, and it was a revelation to me, an inspiration. Like, I know about backpacking, but what is this? Anyways, I put this together in my head, and in January, I called my best friend. I said, listen, we're going to be 16 this year. It's going to be the last year of our lives that we don't have to work. So let's ride our bikes around Lake Michigan. And there's a lot of stories about how we convinced the parents to do that, but we did it. We went for 31 days on our bicycles, left the south suburbs of Chicago, up through the lower, across the bridge, rode to Houghton, converted bike gear to backpack gear, did Isle Royal, made it home. Everything was great. The next year, we're both working. We had 5 days. That first trip was perfect. 5 days, everything went wrong. We had equipment failures. We had a bad tent. It rained. It stormed. We were caught in a hailstorm in Hartford. We were going to Gun Lake. We couldn't make it. So we rode into Kalamazoo. And just to wing it, we called the Y. They said, we're not that kind of Y. We don't have rooms. We called Western. They said, no. And there was Kalamazoo College. And we called them. Where are you? We're at the phone booth at the Stop and Go. Oh, you're around the corner. Come up. My friend was the president of the debate team. I said, you go in and talk to him. You got the way with words. And he goes into Mandel Hall, and he's in there forever. And finally he comes out. He says, I got us a room. Great. I said, what took so long? He said, well, in order to convince them, I told them you're interested in the college, and I gave them all your information. Oh, so the college came and recruited me, and I came to Kalamazoo College. My dad wasn't necessarily thrilled with all my studies and my focus of studies because I was supposed to go into the insurance agency business with him. So after 2 years, I wound up leaving the college and really didn't have much support in life. And I went out and got a job at a place called Sarkozy Bakery, small. It was a startup bakery in Kalamazoo. And, you know, Dad was a home winemaker, and I was collecting beer cans, and now I'm working with yeast and grains. And then, you know, Jimmy Carter legalized home brewing in 1978, and I moved into a house with 3 other guys. We all liked to drink beer, and I went out and bought a bad book and a homebrew kit, and away we went. And then that got a little out of control. And in order to afford my homebrewing hobby, I might have been selling some beer illegally out of the basement. And if you got caught at that time, or at this time, it's the same law in the books, the penalty is 5 years in federal penitentiary and or a $500,000 fine, and you are never allowed for your lifetime to have an alcohol license. And one day I got scared and I wrote to the federal government and said, what do I got to do to get a license? And I still have the letter they sent back to me. It's not real warm and fuzzy, which even made me want to do it more. But I was able to then get the brewery up and running. So, okay, well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Larry. That was interesting from beginning to end and more. So very lucrative life. You know, that's very good. And maybe in 2028, we can schedule a field trip to not the museum, the galleries. Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you again. We just have a couple of more items that we want to cover, and one is to say thank you to the outgoing officers as well as the board member. I think Jerry and I are the only board members, officer and board members that are going out this year in 2026. So Jerry, will you please stand? We would like to say thank you for your service to AALL. And to Vivian, thank you, Vivian. Yeah. Thank you. Dale Kennedy is going to announce our replacements on the board.
So thanks again to Gerald and Vivian for their service. We greatly appreciate it. So the board for AALL can have 11 people. We currently have 10 lined up. I want to thank Bruce Nelson and Ginny Garrison, who are ending one 3-year term but are coming back on for their second. And then 3 new people are coming on: Gloria Fisher, Tricia Franzen, and Tanya Arnett, which leaves us space for one more person. So if people are interested, please let us know. And I think we have to take just a vote. So all those in favor of this slate of board members, please say aye. All right. Nobody's opposed? Good. All right. Thank you, Vivian and Gerald.
Thank you. It was a rewarding experience. You know, even though we didn't get together but 3 times a year as an assembly, there's a lot of behind the scenes and getting to know people, you know, from around the state of Michigan. So it has been very rewarding. And I think according to the bylaws, you know, you can come back on after staying out a year. So Tanya is coming back on, so she's one of our board members who are coming back on. Our next fall assembly is going to be September 10th. We don't have a presenter yet, so if someone will give ideas, and Bruce Nelson is the replacement as president. He will be installed, I guess, a little later on. If you have an idea of someone we can bring in or someone you would like to hear, you know, just let us know. We're always open to ideas regarding speakers for the General Assembly as well as instructors for the classes. So want to keep you involved, want to hear your ideas, and we very much appreciate your input. Are there other announcements that someone would like to share regarding community event or something we should know? Yes.
Tomorrow night, there's a free movie at the home at 7 o'clock.
Fairyland?
Fairyland?
A free movie at the Bome tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's about a woman growing up with a single father during the AIDS epidemic in San Francisco. Very interesting. And the woman who wrote the book and who's the central figure in the movie
Okay.
is the niece of Dave.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so tonight will be the theater here on campus, and tomorrow night will be the Bome Theater. Who said there isn't a lot to do in Albion? So I guess that is, oh, yes?
One last thing. Clayton Parr's last official concert is this coming Sunday at 4.
Oh, so that's 3 things this weekend. What time? Do you know what time?
4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock. Where?
At Goodrich.
At Goodrich? Okay. Yeah, Clayton has been professor a long time. I don't know how many years, but I know it's been several years. Has worked with the community a lot because I've been in some of the community choirs and things like that. So congratulations to him as he moves on to a different area. Anything else? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming, and have a happy weekend and nice weather. We're glad it's nice weather in Michigan and Albion. Thank you for coming. If you are not a member, there are membership forms as well as registration forms out there. And of course, coming up to see his beer cans. I wanted him to hold them up, you know. Okay, hi, Georgia.